Campaigning for women's rights is a good idea, Madam Speaker. However, if we use women's rights to campaign against polygamy, that is definitely not a good idea. Therefore, as the Prime Minister coming from the government side, I totally agree with the motion given today. The House believes that families should not campaign against polygamy in poor countries. As the first speaker, there will be a few tasks that I will be doing today. Firstly, I'll be laying out the definition of certain phrases in the motion given. Secondly, I'll be laying out the problem or status quo that is currently happening. Thirdly, I'll be laying out the objective that we as the government plan to achieve at the end of the day. Fourthly, I'll be laying out the counter proposal or solutions that we will take to overcome the problem. And lastly, I'll be laying out a few points to strengthen our debate from the government side. Moving on to the definition, there will be a few phrases that I'll be defining. Firstly, feminist. Secondly, campaign. Thirdly, polygamy. And fourthly, poor countries. What is meant by feminist? Feminist is usually a women's movement fighting for women's rights or for the benefit of women. Secondly, campaign. Campaign is a series of planned activities to achieve a certain goal at the end of the day. In this case, the way they campaign is like doing demonstrations out there on streets and also giving talks publicly in front of the public. Polygamy means the act of a man having or marrying more than one wife. And poor countries here refers to the third world nations where their gross national income is very low, the poverty level there is very high, and also the standards of living or human development from the aspects of education, health, or basic knowledge or getting needs to continue their life is very, very low. Therefore, now moving on to the problem, or why do we even not want families to campaign against polygamy in poor countries? The problem here is, Madam Speaker, there are many women's movements out there campaigning not to allow polygamy in poor countries. They thought that it will be peaceful or whatsoever, but no, it will bring even bad results, such as causing chaos not just to the country but also the family, institution, and also the community. The objective that we as the government plan to achieve at the end of the day is we do not want to have families out there campaigning against polygamy in poor countries. We do not want to see any side of these families campaigning publicly against polygamy. And talking about the solutions or counter proposals that we would take to overcome this problem, listen here, Madam Speaker. We as the government still consider the conditions of these women. They can't stand the polygamy, which is happening to their lives. However, we believe that polygamy is a personal issue. Therefore, we believe that they should settle this polygamy issue in their own family. So, we agree if they should go for counseling to settle this once and for all. And as everybody knows, women nowadays, they have women's rights. Therefore, if their women's rights are abused, they can just go to the responsible agencies to report, and we'll make sure that these agencies take the effective or necessary actions immediately or as soon as possible to make sure that women's rights are taken up. Now, moving on to the point, why do we not want families to campaign against polygamy in poor countries? Here, Madam Speaker, in poor countries, families should not campaign because by the end of the day, polygamy will still occur and it cannot be stopped at all. On the first analysis, we believe that polygamy is the right of each man. They have the right to marry or have more than one wife. And if they have, for example, they have two wives and they can just take care of both wives and treat them fairly, what is the thing that the women are not satisfied of? If they even campaign against this, wouldn't it be taking away the right of the man to have or marry more than one wife? So, moving on to the second analysis. The second analysis is, we believe that polygamy, even though if you do anything, it will still continue, especially in poor countries. We believe that campaign in poor countries is not enough because in poor countries the education there is very low. Like for example, when we do health campaigns, we can't even achieve our target. What more about things like polygamy, where they can just take things for granted? And if we believe that in these poor countries, campaign is not enough. We also require action such as enforcement of law if they really want to stop it. But if we are referring to enforcement of law, it is not the duty of the families. It is not the duty of the families, or it is not even their decision, but the government. Moving on to my next point is, in poor countries, families should not campaign against polygamy because it would just be a waste of time and would not bring any benefit to anybody, to any stakeholders, because in poor countries, polygamy is not even a big issue. If it was a big issue, I believe that the government of these poor countries would have taken action a long time ago to solve it. But see, no. Therefore, we believe that polygamy is not a big issue in poor countries. There are many more important issues to be argued on, or to be debated on, such as health, education of the children, their standard of living. Therefore, why should these families argue on things like polygamy? Shouldn't they argue on things more important than polygamy, such as the education or their health? And besides that, on the second analysis, we also believe that shouldn't polygamy be a personal issue? So it must be settled in their own family. We should not take action for granted, like making a mountain out of a molehill just because it affects the women. No. So, because we also believe that when these families campaign against polygamy, it brings no benefit at all, but it can even cause further damage or chaos in the family which is having polygamy. Then it will break the family bonds, and it will even damage the family institution. So when the family institution is damaged, what will happen to the children in the family? What will happen to their future? So we are also thinking about that, and therefore we believe that families should not campaign against polygamy. And last but not least, the issue on polygamy, when it is carried out well, so why should we even argue? So here, as the Prime Minister from the government side, we totally agree that families should not campaign against polygamy in poor countries. With that, I beg to propose. Thank you.